Okay, let us speak about breathing techniques, so-called pranayamas, according to our Kriya Yoga tradition. And the general structure, if we'll speak about techniques, is such that we have meditation techniques. It's like 18 big techniques. Then mostly we use 3 pranayama blocks and also quite a lot of bija mantras. You know that 3 chapters, like 3 kinds of groups of techniques finally. And your question was about pranayamas and breathing techniques for the beginners. And let me say a few words that actually it's possible to say that pranayama techniques in our school, like 3 big blocks, are preliminary techniques for the meditation. In this sense we can say like for the beginners, but at the same time it's very dangerous to put it in such a way, because the moment we say to somebody, okay, this stuff goes for the beginners, and some people who really beginners, they're very happy, they say, oh, okay, that's for me, let's start with this. But quite many people, they immediately react like, okay, I'm not the beginner, I'm already practicing years and I don't want this kind of things. And it means it's a kind of play of the words, play of the meanings and our expressions. Anyway, I think that it's useful to practice pranayamas on any stage of your evolution, and it's one of the most dangerous thing is that sometimes people may say, okay, I'm already so highly advanced that I don't need to practice anything. And that's what's happened with many even famous gurus. They experience certain divine states and then they say, okay, now I don't need to practice. And it's very dangerous because you know, my Guru Yogi Rama, he gave me like a couple of funny examples, and one of them is if you decide to run as a sportsman, okay, let us say 5 kilometers, okay, and then how to decide, are you really great sportsman or not? So you have to compare yourself with somebody, and if you will choose to compare yourself with a 6-year-old child, you will be great. But if you compare yourself with a real Olympic champion, then most probably you are not. The second funny example is if you have a, let us say, €1,000 or $1,000 in your pocket. How to choose, are you rich or not? If you go to any, I don't know, African village or somewhere in Brazil in some forest, Native American village, you know, with $1,000 you're a really rich guy. But if you'll go to some central city in New York, Berlin, London, Moscow, it's for sure you are poor. Yeah? And that's kind of jokes, funny examples are really about with whom we are going to compare our spiritual level. And Yogi Rama, because in the 50s and 60s he spent years in Himalayas with Mahatar Babaji, Gorakhnath, Nagaraj Babaji, etc. So Of course, for him it was impossible to say that he is complete, that he is, on the last step of evolution. And that's the reason why his approach was like, okay, I'm on the way. That's a very nice saying, very simple. I'm on the way. We're all on the way. And some of us maybe understood and realized already some great things, but some of us maybe less. But if we put ourselves next to Mahavtar Babaji, then we are all really beginners, and I have even doubts that maybe we are not even the beginners. We're just completely nothing. Yeah. So it means there are many very famous new age gurus, and if you compare yourself with them, maybe it's very easy to say, oh, okay, I'm also great like Eckhart Tolle. It's not a big deal to be the same great as Eckhart Tolle. He is a very nice author, and he wrote wonderful books, and he helping people. But when we speak about real spirituality, it's not about what he's talking about. Yeah? And it's always this. And it means it's a really interesting question we discuss right now, because the illusion in spirituality is very powerful, and one of them is that I'm already know everything, that I'm already realized truth, that truth, I'm enlightened one, and then let me start to teach, to preach to people from the point of my absolute knowledge. And the thing is, even if we know that we are not something like Mahavtar Babaji, it means we know that we are not on the final step of evolution, it doesn't mean that we don't need or can't to teach. We may teach. Yeah, and, but with the subtle understanding that, okay, I teach from the point that I'm on the way, and I know something, I already realized something, but not yet something else. And I don't know all answers and all these things. And I'm not all powerful or whatever. And actually it means better not to stop practice meditation, mantras, and pranayama breathing techniques. Because pranayama is something about, okay, it gives us energy, life force. It means we can use this energy for whatever purpose we wish. Like, okay, meditation, life purpose, to be creative, to do business, do whatever kind of projects and job, family life. Of course, pranayama gives better health, better concentration, and of course quite many modern people, especially in the big cities, things like depression, fears, stress management. And the pranayama is very useful, and actually it's very easy to invest, let us say, half an hour in the morning, but just every day practice, and then in a few weeks, in a few months, to be transformed. And of course Kriya Yoga is not this tradition never promised like tomorrow you will be like absolutely healthy and Mahatma, nothing like that. So it's a step-by-step process. And of course people ask sometimes about pranayamas. If we live in a big cities, is it useful at all to practice pranayama? And some Indian gurus they say, no, 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 in the big cities, you mean like even it can be harmful or useless. But you know, I think that even if you stay, you know, in Manhattan, in New York, even in this case, you can practice pranayama and it's very useful. And that gurus who sometimes proclaim that it's in the big cities, it's meaningless to practice pranayama, then you come to know about that gurus and they stay also in the big cities. And in the most of the Indian cities they have a very bad ecological situation, and in most places in the West Europe, for example, much better ecological situation than in India. Then it's like blah blah. And also the thing is, if you stay in, let us say, doesn't matter, London, Berlin, Moscow, New York, New Delhi, if you still breathing, then the question is, why not to do it properly? I mean, if you can't stay in a big city and manage not to breathe, then okay, no need to practice pranayama. But if you stay in a big city and anyway you know, you inhale, exhale, then why not to do it properly? Well, and so we have three techniques. Better to say 3 blocks, because each of them is like bunch of techniques, and it's good to choose one of them or practice all of them. And it's very good to follow certain sequence. The first is the best to start with Ida Pingala Pranayama. Actually, in the most yogic traditions, they call it Anuloma Viloma. And the second one is a very good block of techniques, is Nabi Mudra. This is a very important and fundamental technique for the Kriya Yoga, and it goes like second block. And in the time of Lahiri Baba, for example, any new, let us say, disciple, before Lahiri Baba chose to teach him or her, it was necessary to practice for 1 or 2 years only this Nabi Mudra, to be ready to prepare oneself for the meditation. Of course, now in the 21st century, especially in the Western world, we don't care about it. I mean, we have a lot of yoga clubs, books, videos, and normally when people come to the Kriya Yoga seminar or workshop, they already know a lot of things. They already practice for years. But at that time, it was the second half of 19th century, in India, all that techniques were secret, and those people who somehow through the friends may come to know about, that Lahiri Baba may teach. And normally it was people who could practice mantras as a part of family tradition, but not too much about yoga. Well, and the third block of techniques, which you actually know already, is a Dvadasha Pranayama. It's like the third part of the process. And if you practice in a normal, let us say, way, later on I'll explain what does mean normal way, all these 3 blocks of pranayamas, it may take you half an hour, so not a long time. And when I teach pranayama, I'm always emphasize like time management, because if we shall not speak about time management, then it's a fantasy, because people whom teaching, okay, they have to know like this pranayama, this hatha yoga, this mantra yoga, how long it will take for me to practice this every morning or every evening. Because if I don't know, then how can I manage my breakfast and then go to the office? How can I manage my family, like obligations, duties? So it must be very clear how long take this, how long take that.